And thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. It's not always easy to plan for the future, but if you're involved in a family business, then estate planning is critical. A generational transfer of any business presents challenges, but the uniqueness of a family farm makes transferring the farm business even more challenging. For more than 25 years, UVM Extension has offered educational workshops to help families make successful farm transfers. Extension's agricultural economist Bob Parsons leads those workshops and is here with us this afternoon to talk about some of the key issues related to family farm succession. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Judy.
Why is it so important, this issue of transferring the family farm?
Well, it's gotten more crucial because, farm assets are worth a lot, and you have to work around taxes, and you have to work around a number of other things to try to get the next generation on. But we also end up with a situation today, and in the past 20 years, the average age of farmers has gone up from the mid-40s until it's age 58. Today, we have more farm assets in the hands of farmers over age 65 than we have in under 35.
Really?
And so there's this kind of concern is who is going to be our next generation of farmers, and are our current farmers making plans so that they can transition their farm to whoever they want to operate that farm business without a death causing the assets just to be split up and sold and a successful business going down the drain because no one made any plans to try to continue that on to the next generation.
Is the situation in Vermont and New England similar or different from other areas of the country?
It's similar, but it's also a little bit different because we're also dealing with a lot of maybe farms that are last generation family farms, in that the farm business will have to be different if someone's going to continue it. And there's a lot of desire among families that, we've had this family, farm for 5, 6, 7, maybe more generations. We would like to keep it in the family. Mm-hmm. And then it gets to be a challenge for the family. It goes, how do we keep this in the family because it is an asset, or is it really a liability? Because you still have to pay the taxes and try to keep the, the shed roof on, the roofs on the buildings and stuff like that. And so it can be expensive to maintain a farm. And if you try to split it up 4 ways, then it ends up getting sold apart and it ends up in a split development. Whereas we'd like to keep our agricultural lands open so that we kind of keep contingent without this scattered development also.
Because once some land goes out of farming, does it ever come back to farming?
No, people don't tear down houses and return to farming.
So one of the issues in a family farm transfer is fair versus equal. What does that mean?
Well, that's always a challenge because you might have one child that's on the farm and you have 2 children that are off the farm, and the parents are trying to think, now how do we treat our kids fairly? And if we treat them equally and we give them each 1/3 of the farm assets, that's probably going to doom the farm business and the one that's left on the farm. And so we need to take this and start at an earlier age. If the child that wants to remain on the farm, let's let them start building some assets and also let them get some credit for the way that they're enabling the parents also to continue the business and get income from that business, because that business, as long as it's thriving, can provide them income into their retirement years without them having to sell off the farmland or the cows or the equipment to fund their retirement years.
Because a family farm often is income for several members of the family.
Yeah, it's income for several members, and there's this other attribute of family farms. We spend 40 years trying to make sure that we pay as low income tax as possible by keeping our investment in land, cows, and machinery. And then you end up when you're getting your 60s and you realize, well, I've spent 40 years trying to keep my Schedule F down, and then I don't get much Social Security. Well, if you don't get much Social Security, you still need cash to live on in your retirement years. And that then has to come from that farm, either from the profits that are generated by that farm business that's maybe being operated by a child, or you have to sell off some of the assets. And that's when it gets very detrimental to the continuation of the farm business.
Mm-hmm. There are instances when a transfer is not wanted or expected. What about those situations?
Well, you always have things turn up. We don't all die whenever we're planning on it. It just,
True.
I mean, that just ends up one thing. And you also have, disability. We can have divorces. We can have just disasters on the farm. And so a lot of these just require planning a little bit as to what would we do in this case and how we're going to try to kind of continue the farm. And if we have a child working for us on the farm, why don't we bring them into the farm? I'm not talking about giving them the entire farm. Let them allow to work into it. They can start working into it at a younger age, maybe to own 5%, 10% ownership, and gradually give them a roadmap so that they know whenever they'll be acquiring assets. And most of this, a lot of times, is a lot of the attributes of increasing the net worth of the farm is credible to the younger generation's work and management skills. So allow them to share in that as a way to get this done. And you're not so much giving a gift as much as you are providing an opportunity.
This sounds like what you really need is constant communication.
Yes, it's constant communication. And also, some people look on estate planning and generational transfer planning as a single event. It's a process.
Right.
We have some farms out here that grandfather's been transferring part of the business over to their son or daughter. And now the son and daughter is thinking about how they're going to start transferring to bring a third generation into the farm. And they're all a vital part of the farm operation. And that is like it requires giving recognition to the contribution that individuals are making toward the farm management and profits.
Well, what happens when a farm family hasn't planned for what you call the 5 Ds?
All too often you end up with a situation where the farmer is told their children are with them on the farm, don't worry, I have it all taken care of, you'll be taken care of. And they haven't taken care of, they had it in their head, but they end up, the parents pass away, and then the will is read, and the will's 30 years old. They have trustees named for their children who were maybe teenagers at the time they made the will up, and now everything is to be split 5 equal ways. And the one that's been on the farm spent their life there on the farm, they don't own much of the farm, and they also work for low wages, so there's no way that they can buy that, the 80% of the farm from their siblings. And there again, you get back this fair versus equal. Is
Right.
that fair? No, it was equal, but sometimes it's a hard decision to make about what is exactly fair, so maybe we default to equal.
So when a family member or a farm owner says, I'm too busy to deal with this issue, your comment is?
Well, you will retire from this farm business. Maybe not when you want to. Maybe it will be when you want to, but everybody will retire from their farm business in one way, shape, or form. And the sooner that you start planning on this, talking about it, identifying where you might want to end up and down the road. Do you want one of your children to get the farm? And it's a little bit like Yogi Berra say, if you don't know where you're going, you may not get there. If you want a successful farm transition, you have to decide that that's really what you want to do, and you have to make steps to get there.
Okay, well, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, you lead the family farm transfer workshops all across New England. And you have a workshop coming up tomorrow, February 26th, at the Abbey Restaurant in Sheldon. It begins at 10:30 a.m. The cost is $10 per person. For more information, you can check the website that's listed on your screen, uvm.edu/farm transfer. You can also call the number, which is 802-656-2109. To learn more about the workshops and who attends, we join Across the Fence's Keith Silva.
Is a business. Like any business, a farm's success is often linked to its longevity. For a family farm to last generations means transferring ownership from one generation to the next.
If there isn't enough money, how are you going to make it go? Yes.
Since 1990, University of Vermont Extension has been offering Transferring the Farm workshops in Vermont and New England. The workshops cover estate planning, taxes, and choosing a business model to best suit each farmer's situation.
Me and my wife are pretty well gung-ho. We want to do this, and like I said, we're moving forward with trying to think out what plans and steps we can start to take. I want to have a full understanding of all the options available to us, and this is a great way to start seeing those different options and where we can go next to get more information.
So we're interested in having a little more time off eventually. So we figured we'd get the planning process going while we're thinking of other things we'd like to do. There's a lot of different facets to the whole thing that we weren't really aware of when we began.
Such as?
Well, all of the different ramifications of whether you have the LLC versus the corporation, or whether we wanted to be partnerships, and just all the different ramifications of those different structures. The different things you can do as far as putting the land into those, and the tax ramifications of everything.
It's nice to have UVM Extension here giving us this information in a platform. It's not intimidating. The information is here for us to come get it, and it's given to us. It's laid out in a way that's easy for us to see, and it's very useful to have this information together, whereas maybe with the lawyer I'd get some of it and some of it online, and putting it together would be a little more difficult.
I appreciate the way that UVM Extension is reaching out to farmers and providing us with this information. Like I said, I'm learning from the process, and it's helpful to have somebody pulling the information together for us and providing us with the opportunity to ask questions and get information before we have to pay the lawyers and the accountants.
So it's not.
It's said success breeds success. For these businessmen and women, a farm transfer ensures their business will continue to be successful for generations to come. In Middlebury, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Well, thanks, Keith. If you're just joining us, I'm discussing issues related to transferring the family farm, and my guest is UVM Extension agricultural economist Bob Parsons. Now, in addition to the workshops, you also offer online virtual workshops. Can you tell me a little bit about what those are like?
We've taped one of the workshops, and it's available online. And in addition, we have like 29 total videos together, each about 6 to 8 minutes in length, about specific topics. One on a will, what is a trust, what is an LLC, addressing the issue of fair versus equal. What are the steps you maybe want to take? What is maybe, how do you get started on it? And we also have some videos on there about of 6 different farms that have partially or totally worked on their farm transition, and this is about how they went about it, and kind of giving you the courage that yes, they did it, and they thought it was an insurmountable task, but they were able to do it. And sometimes some farms, they get partially along the way, and it's part of the process, and somewhere along the way they have to kind of stop and think, what do we want to do for the next step?
Well, to find out about transferring the farm virtual workshops, you can go to uvm.edu/farmtransfer. Or the website, you can find the link to the virtual workshops. If you have any questions, you can call 802-656-2109. That's 656-2109. Now, Bob, over the years, we've discussed a variety of scenarios related to family farm transitions, including options such as lease to own. Can you touch on some of the common scenarios that maybe families might face?
Well, the common scenario people have is, where do we get started? And it's okay, if you've worked together for a while, like a farm, before you bring the child in, you need to bring the child in on a business basis, and let them understand the business, and let them make sure that you can work together, because just because you can get along good at Christmas and Thanksgiving meals, can you work with this person on an everyday basis? It's commonly that it's nice to have other farmer, the farm children work off the farm, and then come back and find out maybe working for mom and dad isn't as bad as you thought it was. And that's really what you want to do. And some people say they've got off and they go, this is where I want to raise my kids on this farm. Then the transition, then I think for the most successful, is the younger generation needs to have a roadmap. Do I work here until I'm age 50 and then we're going to sit down and discuss it? No, they want to start building assets. They want to start seeing a life for their farms. And then if we start saying, okay, we're going to start transferring the farm business, and over the years we'll do that on a gradual purpose through a LLC framework and a limited liability company, and then the children get to the point that they've got more than 50% of the business, and then they might start talking about what to do with the real estate at that time. And at the same time, the parents kind of have to keep updated with their wills, or what would happen, because you have to plan with, well, what if I live to be 90, and how much do I have enough assets? But what if mom and dad get killed in a car accident tomorrow?
Right.
How is that going to be settled? And so this takes a lot of communication.
And it also sounds like even if you have a plan in place, it would be a good idea to revisit it on a pretty regular basis.
These plans are not cast in stone. And you have to, there's been some families that maybe the younger generation decided there isn't enough income and they need to move on if they want to make their life for their kids and provide them a college education or something. And so you have to be dealing it with the reality of the business. And one of the problems we run into is sometimes we have a farm that's big enough to support one family, and then all of a sudden they decide it's now big enough to support two. Well, there's enough work for two, but is there enough income for two? And it takes income for both the older generation and the younger generation to be able to make this successful business and keep the business growing. A lot of times you have to think is, I'm making a good living on my business now. Now I want to bring my child in. I want to pay them, a minimum of $30,000 a year, and they should probably be getting more. And you go, well, where's that going to come from? Well, if a farm's making 10% profit, that means you need to increase sales by $300,000 to come up with this extra $30,000 now to pay your child. So a facing of the financial reality is really important.
So where should farmers get started?
They need to get started by talking a little bit among their family, and I think if that is not working, call in, UVM Extension Vermont or UVM Extension Farm Viability is a good point, to where you can get somebody in that might be a facilitator at very no cost and or very low cost, and kind of getting the conversation started, because the conversation will take the family members. You also have to address financial reality. You need to talk to your accountant to try to make sure that you're making financial steps right and understanding what tax consequences each step may be. And you will need to bring in an attorney at some point. But you don't start with the attorney because you need to know where you're kind of headed before you start with the attorney.
Right. So earlier I mentioned that tomorrow's Farm Transfer Workshop is in Sheldon. Let's put that information back on the screen for a moment. It's at the Abbey Restaurant. It begins at 10:30. The cost is $10 per person. And hopefully lots of people will show up.
And it's a bargain.
It's a bargain, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Judy.
That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.